Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Manipulation 101. I'm your host MJ and today we have Ryan and Varisha for a killer discussion on George Orwell's groundbreaking novel, 1984. This book is such a classic, it's not bound by time or place. Did you know there is an Urdu translation of the novel that is also quite well among Pakistani readers? For this podcast, we have a regular guest, Ryan and Varisha. We will discuss how scary the message in Orwell's 1984 is and how it's particularly around us. We will also discuss the concepts of free will and intolerant control. We will then play a very fun game based on vaporizing some people. Then, towards the end, we have a special guest in the podcast. I won't be revealing the identity just as yet. It's a bit of a surprise. We had to work really hard to get them on the episode, so stay tuned.
Groundbreaking was an interesting way to describe it. In fact, maybe you could just say, Welcome to 1984, seeing the times we are living in.
Which was basically our discussion for the day, lol. Alright guys, thanks for listening. See you in the next episode. Bye. Okay, jokes apart, before we begin, I want everyone to give the book a rating out of 5. Why don't you go first, Varisha?
I think I'll do 4.5.
Why though? Where did he lose the point 5?
Well, I don't really think I'm in the position to be taking away his stars. It's a classic, this book, but I kind of lose interest halfway, to be honest. Maybe because the topic is so serious.
What about you, Ryan? What are you thinking?
Definitely a 5 for me. This book had my hair on the end. I have never read something this is so relatable on the global level. What about you?
5 for me too. Maybe even a 6. Ha ha ha.
It's really scary though, isn't it? Let me read an excerpt to you from the novel. It really doesn't feel dystopian at all. I could easily believe this is a news report from today. Here we go. The party said that Oceania had never been in alliance with Eurasia. He, Winston Smith, knew that Oceania had been in alliance with Eurasia as short as 4 years ago. But where did that knowledge exist? Only in his own conscience, which in any case must be soon annihilated. And if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became true. Who controls the past? Ran the party slogan. Controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. And yet the past, though of its nature unalterable, never had been altered. Whatever was true from everlasting to everlasting. It was quite simple. All that was needed was an unending series of victories over your own memory. Reality control, they call it in Newspeak doublethink. I mean, this is scary stuff. We have been studying history for so long, right? How do we know how accurate this is? Like, how do we know which populations have truly been oppressed and what kind of information has been reached our textbooks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this makes me think of how so much of black history was practically lost, and its situations actually hidden and eradicated. The fact that an entire month has been dedicated to revive those accounts, I'm talking about Black History Month, show you what extent the damage can go to. I mean, imagine if we didn't realize this issue until a few generations, it could easily have been lost with no trace.
MJ, you're talking about black history. Let me tell you something closer to home. Did you know that very recently there was a lot of talk online and in the newspaper, opinion pieces that the history taught in Pakistan's textbooks, especially the ones related in the partition, is heavily biased. The choice of words and historical facts all point towards a culture of intolerance and hate.
Really? I actually had no idea. Fuck.
Yeah, and to be honest, I feel like that's one of the main themes in the novel that's been interwoven at literally every point. In the beginning, it's like everywhere, with the telescreens and Newspeak and the memory hole. Just everywhere. People are taught to believe what they're supposed to believe.
And you learn how intense it is, because in the start it's like an external thing. Like you still have outliers like Winston who haven't been affected by the censorship, except that in the end they get to him too.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about extreme cases like Chinese concentration camps.
Yeah, they're literal spaces for re-education and brainwashing. People are tortured into changing how they think and what they believe, exactly like Winston at the end of the novel.
That bit was just so heartbreaking, especially in the end when he gives up Julia when he can't endure the rats. And then they come across each other in the streets. Remember how they used to say no matter what the party does, it can't make them stop loving each other, except that it does. They walk past each other like strangers.
Yeah, but I like to believe the love was still there. They just couldn't show it anymore. But back to the Chinese camp. You know what else that reminds me of? Have you ever listened to official interviews of world leaders and their take on the situation? They literally say if the Chinese government is doing such and such, then they know what is best for their country. It's like no one is even acknowledging that this is a reality.
Kind of like, when in the novel the party decides to change enemies, people literally have placards in their hands and they accept the change and blame it on East Asia propaganda. You think how stupid would people have to be, but then you remember the power of brainwashing and a totalitarian government.
Right?
So that was quite insightful, man. This brings up the second part of the podcast. Who are you vaporizing? I'm gonna give you guys choices between two people and you will tell me who are you vaporizing and why.
Lol. Okay, got it.
Sounds good.
Alright, so first up we have our man, Winston versus Julia.
What? What kind of choice is that? Okay. I think it'll have to be Winston for me.
Really? You'll kill the protagonist? I'm going with Julia. Would we even have a 1984 without Winston? We're all Winstons, by the way, and it's the Winstons that stir things. Julia just gives into the system.
You can vaporize Julia. I'm sticking to Winston. If I had to end up like that, then poor Julia was just living her life, Being with him was just a death trap.
You do have a point there. What about between the Parsons kids?
Oh shit, them for sure, without a doubt.
They're just kids, dude, but listen to the other side. It's either them or O'Brien.
Oh man, you don't make this any easy, do you? Alright, I'm sticking to the kids. Honestly, they're super annoying, and honestly, I don't think vaporizing O'Brien will do anything to the party. There will be just another O'Brien.
I think I do O'Brien. Even if it makes no difference, it will probably start to show cracks in the party system.
Oh my god, you guys, good point. I'd vaporize the kids too. They were so annoying. Okay, last one. Vaporize Miss Parson or Sign?
I'm dead. Okay, vaporize them both.
Both? Why? I'd say neither.
You guys are quite predictable. Ryan, Mrs. Parson, why can't we let poor Miss Parson live? What did she ever do to anyone?
Yeah, why? I can understand science. Annoying seems to be a criteria for you to vaporize people. What did Mrs. Parsons ever do to you?
She birded those monsters. Secondly, she's really no use and contributes nothing to that society. Her existing or non-existing will do nothing to anyone.
I'm dying. Okay, poor lady, but anyway, we are quite short of time and our very, very special guest has arrived in the studio. He's on his way up as we speak.
Dude, I'm dying myself to know who it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest is none other than Mr. George Orwell.
It's 2022.
I'm so confused.
So, Mr. Orwell, it's timeless just like his novel. And Mr. Orwell, it's timeless just like his novel. And that here we have Mr. George Orwell. Hello, George. I'm okay to call you that.
Yes, of course. George will do just fine. You call me Eric too, seeing we are in a different time.
Alright, so Eric, welcome to our podcast. You have no idea how happy we are to have you.
It's a pleasure being here.
Eric, what's happened to your voice and your accent? Aren't you British? I was expecting a British accent.
Have you ever been through a time machine? It changes everything. Never doing this again. Is that an ongoing illness I have? The doctors haven't been able to tell me what it is yet.
Oh no, hope that fixes you up soon. Maybe you could try some modern medicine. So anyway, let me ask you the most common question you may have ever been asked. We just want to hear this straight from your mouth. What made you write 1984?
Ah yes, that really is a common one. So the answer, which I now know like a parrot, I might add, is that I took much time brooding over the two menaces of my time, the Nazism and the Stalinism. I started to realize that governing bodies have the potential to cause the greatest amounts of destruction to the world as we know it. I won't put out a warning, but I wanted to do it using the power of language. Merely writing a paragraph or a news article never has the same effect as a novel, where people can put themselves in the actual shoes of the protagonist.
I'm so fascinated. I must tell you, I'm a huge fan. I've always wondered, how does it feel now that your work has had such an impact on the literary world? Terms you coined such as Big Brother and doublethink are used commonly. How does that make you feel?
I cannot imagine it feeling anything but pride.
Yeah, I guess. Yes and no. Like, of course, I didn't expect it to blow up like this, especially after I wrote Animal Farm. But now everyone gets my point. Did you know that?
Do you mean like how they use the term Orwellian?
That is actually exactly what I mean. It has been destroyed. How did that even happen? It baffles me.
I'm lost. How is that term used then?
Oh, don't get that started. People have been labeling all situations within authority as Orwellian. If you get suspended from school for something serious, it's Orwellian. If a person gets sacked for stealing, the company is Orwellian. It's basically used to show repression of any kind, when honestly George Orwell wrote against repression. That cough is nasty, Eric. Could be serious. Do come see a doctor after this.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. I might not have the time though. Anyway, one thing I will say before leaving is that everyone thinks they are an outlier. Anyone who reads my books will automatically say they're like Winston, and every ruling government is the party. But then look at us.
Most of us are citizens then, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's what makes it so scary, you know. If you're one citizen, you won't really know that you're one of them. You just think you're on the right side.
Which goes to show how important and powerful such literature is. I don't think we can ever thank you enough.
That's very kind of you, dear. Thanks.
One last question, Eric. Now that you're in 2022, does this feel dystopian to you? Does it feel like this time is closer to what you wrote in your own?
You know, to be honest, closer yes. But seeing the power that people have and how much change they've brought about, they're active and effective. Winston's all around here. I guess the time close to my novel will mean the Winstons of this world will have become rare, and even they won't be able to escape the system.
Hope not anytime soon. And with that, our podcast sadly comes to an end. Thank you, Mr. Orwell, for being here with us, and your book is going to stay with humanity for a long time.